Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Hugo Quintanilla here with another live navigating rental agreements, how to secure a lease without credit history. Yep, it is another webinar on leasing. So thank you to everyone watching. And if you know anyone that might benefit from this information, feel free and share the live. We'll get started in about maybe 15 seconds. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience. It is always your Realtor Hugo here, licensed in Maryland with Long and Foster. Foster. Um, Thank you again for tuning in today. Like I said, we were going to talk about leases, in particular, leasing without credit history, and how you can actually get a property without having that essential key element. It is possible, might be a little bit more difficult than you would think, but it is something that is definitely worth getting to know. Happy 420, happy gardening, happy Earth Day, happy day for all your favorite activities that you'd like to ever partake in. Have fun. I hope that you enjoy the weekend and everything has been going well for you. At the end of the day, we all need a place to live, so I hope that you are thinking about this to some degree, because a little bit of planning on this regard can definitely save you a lot of headache in the future, especially if you take into consideration how much cannabis and real estate have gone hand in hand. NAR just came out with a report that actually talks a lot about some of the trends that we have seen in cannabis culture, cannabis use, and the states that have um, approved it for recreational, and its impact on real estate, both on the commercial and residential side. So it is quite an interesting topic to follow. Feel free and check that post out earlier on in my Facebook. So, yeah. But for today, let's talk about leasing. So, provide proof of income is first and foremost. We always talk about how it's important that the proof of income that you're providing is recent. It's usually going to have to be probably within, well, definitely the last 12 months, at least. And be honest. Don't, I know there are a lot of TikToks that tell you, hey, go ahead and lie and do this and do that. Don't. Really don't. It will come back and bite you, because The fact that you might get into the house is one thing. That's great. Okay, fine. I'll find an Andy. But what about the moment that you actually have to pay for utilities, or there's an unexpected cost, or something breaks and it's actually your fault? These all become extra expenses to put it over the top, and it can really become a burden instead of being a luxury. And really, if you're gonna rent a property way below your means. Save while you're leasing, because if you're leasing to your max budget, there's no way that you're ever going to buy a home unless you double or triple your money. And most people are not that dedicated to put that much effort into making more money like that. So, make the most of what you got. And what else can I tell you for proof of income? Depending on who you're talking to, you could provide 2 months. Well, I'm sorry, 2 months pay stubs. Well, definitely, that's pretty much standard. But 2 years of tax returns. Now that it's tax season, most people have just done their recent, tax returns. If you have that, that could be a big plus in your corner. Showing solid proof of income can assure landlords of your ability to pay rent. Typically, landlords look for a monthly income that's at least, listen to this, 3 times the rent. So if the place is $1,000, they're looking for you to make at least $3,000 a month. You can provide recent pay stubs, a letter from the employer verifying your employment and salary, or tax return documents if you're self employed. So, there are several ways for you to be able to do all of this. You have to do it. You have to get that paperwork and that documentation all together. Number two, offer a higher security deposit. Offering to pay a higher security deposit can help mitigate the risks to a landlord by um, making them feel more secure in case something is wrong with the property once you leave, or if you fail to leave. There is always the drawback that the landlord might not agree, because, as we all know, a tenant that once is inside the property is more difficult to get out than when, you know, things are just starting out. So you have to be very careful as a landlord of who you let lease a property, because if they want to stay in the property, there are certain protections in place to give them a certain amount of time. And those are all built into the legalities of the contracts and, of course, human rights. So a security deposit is something that would only interest a certain type of landlord. And you have to keep that in mind. You know, always document everything, and try to keep things above board, really, because I can't tell you how many people come to me and tell me that they lost a security deposit because it wasn't properly documented. It's as easy as writing, on a napkin and having both people sign it, and, having everyone have a copy of it. It's something, it's better than nothing. Number three, use a cosigner or guarantor. A cosigner or guarantor who has a good credit history can vouch for you. This person agrees to pay the rent if you fail to do so. Make sure your cosigner understands their obligation and is willing and able to take on this responsibility. Again, make sure they know. Make sure they're prepared, and make sure it's all within the realm of possibilities if things were to go AWOL. Because, you know, we all make plans and then God laughs. But at the end of the day, a cosigner can be a great way to use their credit as your own extension of your financing. And then, with you basically on the contract, you could build up a credit profile as well. There's credit card such as Built and their rewards program. They can help you build credit from your rent. A great program to look into if you're looking to maximize your credit into the future. But getting into the property, if it's an emergency situation, guarantor or cosigner is probably my top two ways of getting to the next step faster than most people. Number four, Provide references. Personal and professional references can help build trust with potential landlords. References from previous landlords, employers, and other professional contacts can attest to your reliability and responsibility. May persuade a landlord to rent to you despite the lack of credit history. And man, I can't tell you how many people have had someone give them a stellar review and they've been like, yeah, no, that's the reason why I gave it to them, because X, Y, and Z said that X, Y, and Z was like amazing and they were stellar and they were always on time and it goes a lot. You'd be surprised. Your reputation precedes you, and you have to be a person of your word. If you're gonna say you're gonna do something, you got to do it. So, more than anything, provide references that are valid. Um, I know we're all guilty of maybe providing a fake reference or two. If you are going to provide a fake reference, make sure that that person is aware. The worst is when you call a random person and they're like, hello, who is this? No, I don't know them. Goodbye. It happens. But let them know because it can really slow down the process for you. Number 5, show rental history. If you've rented before, provide a potential rental history from your previous landlord. Even without a formal credit report, a history of on-time rent payments can be very beneficial. Include contact information for former landlords who can confirm your reliability as a tenant. Again, we're trying to show that we can do this for a long period of time and that it's just one of those things that we want to make known that, hey, we are a reliable tenant. Number, what are we saying? 6, consider a shorter term lease. Proposing a shorter lease term, such as 6 months, might make a landlord more willing to take a chance on you. If everything goes well, the lease can be extended longer at the end of the term. Now, again, the risk with this is that you are paying a little bit more potentially. You are will have to move in X amount of time, but it does bide you some time between you now and your next move. So, you know, when it's an emergency situation, the most important thing is that we get a roof over your head. So, if nothing else, you got to do what you got to do to take care of the things that you got to take care of. So if a short-term lease is something that's viable, it's something that you got to ask. If you're working with a realtor, they tend to shy away from that. We tend to work with 12-month leases, but there are varying situations where you might find that, especially in markets as they open up. You might find that in coastal regions, you might find that. So those are all potential options. Number 7, demonstrate stability in other areas. Show stability through your job history or residency at your previous address. Landlords value stability as it suggests a lower risk at you defaulting on the rent. Again, you can do that through showing rental history, but more than anything, letting them know what you kind of took care of in the old home. Did you change the air filter? Did you clean the gutters? Did you wash the carpets? Did you do the landscaping? All of those are little subtle clues, little things you can drop in a conversation with the landlord directly. They could give you a leg up on somebody else that applies. Um, we haven't really talked too much of a realtor's role in this, because this is tends to be a situation that's a lot more difficult for a realtor to get involved with. And realtors tend to deal more with properties that have a set, credit score, um, and they tend to be at that credit or better. Not to say that you don't find cases, and not to say that you shouldn't apply to some of these places, but very quickly you'll realize that you'll keep getting denied again and again and again. And the one thing that they'll always keep citing is credit. So, or lack thereof. So This is all taking into consideration that you're possibly out there just looking on Zillow or Facebook or Craigslist all by yourself. And with that being said, you have to have these conversations with the landlord on your own. If you want to get a realtor involved, I would definitely consult with a realtor and see if there's a realtor in your area that could provide services for you like that. But it's definitely something that's you know a little bit out of the norm for most realtors, since most major realtors deal in strictly listing or buying. But I digress. Number 8, prepay some of the rent. If possible, offer to prepay a few months of rent up front. This can give the landlord peace of mind and show your financial ability and seriousness about maintaining the rent agreement. Again, it's about maintaining a stable relationship with the landlord, and prepayment can be hefty on the wallet, but if it gets you the place, it could get you the place. Number 9, get a letter of recommendation. Ask for a letter of recommendation from someone who can attest to your character and financial stability. This can be an employer, previous landlord, or mentor. Again, make sure this is a verifiable person. Make sure it's something of note, something of value from someone that can easily be accessible. Um, the worst is when you get a letter and it's not verifiable. All these things, we need to make them verifiable, because otherwise we're really wasting our time and the landlords, and no one wants to lose time, especially people that are in the business of making money. Number 10, uh, look for individual landlords. Individual landlords might be more flexible than management companies when it comes to renting without credit history. They may be more willing to consider your overall situation rather than just your credit score. And that's truly the key of it, is and why most agents don't work with these type of clients, is because they become a lot longer game. You can find properties, but it could take longer to find that particular landlord that will just get it and just understand. you know Again, a realtor might be able to better assist in this. So there are realtors that specialize in this. I've known a few realtors that do rentals in the just hard to kind of explain sort of cases. The and it's amazing. I commend them. I don't know if I could survive doing just cases like that all the time, but it is truly something that is difficult, because you do have to do a lot of research. But working with an agent, someone that can you can explain your case to and can give you some insight on what's available, where some resources are, is always a great place to start. And even if you don't work with them, they can hopefully be a resource to the sources that you need to go to, and look for them for that. So by employing these strategies, you can really increase your chances of finding a landlord willing to rent to you without a traditional credit history. Always be honest about your financial situation and proactive in offering solutions to reassure potential landlords. Remember, we want to make them feel good about their situation and make them feel like, hey, okay, this person might not have credit because they do pay everything on time. They don't need credit. They like to pay cash. And that can be very appetizing for many people and many cultures. Because remember, this sometimes can be a cultural thing. It's just culturally we operate differently. And there are some cultures that strictly operate in cash. And it's just part of our traditions. And those are all things that, I'd love to talk about someday. But at the end of the day, we are here to just talk about this stuff for about 15 minutes a day. And for today, if you just joined us, the best ways to lease a property without a credit history are: one, providing proof of income. Number two, offering a higher security deposit. Number three, using a cosigner or guarantor. Number four, providing references. Number five, show rental history. Number six, consider a shorter lease term. Number seven, demonstrate stability in other areas. Number eight, prepay some of the rent. Number nine, get a letter of recommendation. And number 10, look for individual landlords. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it is always a pleasure to speak with you. And really, I appreciate you all dropping in and dropping by and saying hi. So thank you so much on this lovely Earth Day. Take care. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the top real estate stories of the week. So tune in and yeah, recap with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.